Alright, so the new rates just went into effect here in Minnesota. Today we'll discuss my initial experience. So there are now minimum earnings guarantees here in Minnesota, and they apply only to period 3 when you're transporting a passenger. Period 2 pickup mileage is not included in this guarantee. The minimum earnings guarantee is 31 cents per minute plus $1.28 per mile for time spent with the rider in your vehicle. This is period 3 when you're transporting a rider. Also a $5 minimum trip fare for every ride, and also 80% of any cancellation fees from passengers who cancel a ride after you depart to pick them up. And if we don't reach that minimum guaranteed earnings, we will receive a top-off. And those top-off payments are based on 14-day periods. They're not weekly. And here's how the top-offs will work during the bi-weekly periods. Say I gave 3 trips here totaling 21 miles and 63 minutes. I should earn $46.41. If I earn anything below that, I will be topped off to that $46.41. My first top-off payments on both platforms should be the week of December 16th, and those top-off payments, at least initially here, are going to be substantial. In this video, I'm only going to go over my numbers. I'm not going to go over any strategies. I'm going to do a strategies video next week, but let's jump into my numbers. All right, again, the minimum guarantee only applies to period 3 when you're transporting a passenger. Period 2 pickup mileage does not apply. My period 3 mileage on Lyft was 157.83. On Uber, it was 165.13. My period 3 time on Lyft was about 304 minutes. On Uber, it was about 300 minutes. My upfront fare earnings on Lyft, which includes turbo bonuses, was $218.58. On Uber, my upfront fare earnings, which includes surge bonuses, was $235.72. What my earnings should have been with the new rates of $1.28 per mile and 31 cents per minute on Lyft would have been $296.26. And on Uber, it should have been $303.99. And again, I'm taking my total period 3 mileage and multiplying that by $1.28, and my total period 3 time and multiplying that by 31 cents. My top-off payments so far on Lyft should be $77.68. And on Uber, it should be $68.27. That's a 36% increase on Lyft over what I was actually paid, and a 29% increase on Uber. Total passenger payments on Lyft were $342.93, on Uber $354.15. Lyft's take, what they receive after the top off, will be $46.67, and on Uber $50.16. And both Lyft and Uber's take percentages will be 14% after the top off. My total earnings with tips, wait time, and top off on Lyft should be $318.24. On Uber, it should be $316.12. My total online time with Lyft was just about 11 hours and 11 hours with Uber. This would be an hourly rate of $29.06 on Lyft and $28.56 on Uber after the top off. Before the top off, it was $21.97 on Lyft and $22.63 on Uber. The top off will increase my earnings on Lyft 32%, and on Uber, it will increase 26%. And again, this is just the first week. These totals will be added to my next week, and then I'll receive my top-off payment based on that 14-day period. My total earnings before top-offs are $488.41. My total top-off payments from both platforms so far should be $145.95. This brings my total earnings to $634.36, which is a 30% increase overall with the top-offs. And I'm equating these top-off payments as essentially a ride challenge bonus on Lyft and a Quest bonus on Uber. So far my experience, the top-off payments are going to be substantial. Both Uber and Lyft have not really reflected the minimum rates on their upfront fares. Here was my largest discrepancy on Lyft. I was paid $17.17 for this ride. The total period 3 time and mileage was 27 minutes and 1 second and 21.93 miles. But based on the minimum rates, I should have been paid $36.45 for this ride. That's a difference of $19.28. The passenger paid $25.93 on this ride. And here's my largest discrepancy on Uber. I was paid $15.69 for this ride. The period 3 duration was 28 minutes and 52 seconds, and the distance was 18.36 miles. Based on the new minimum rates, I should have been paid $32.45. That's a difference of $16.76. The passenger paid $25.97, so I should have been paid about $36 and $33 on both of these rides respectively. Both Lyft and Uber only charge the passengers $25, so they're not even reflecting those new minimum rates in the passenger fares. Now, I actually had a few rides that didn't completely reflect the new minimum rates, but they were close. On Lyft, the upfront pay on this one was $21.15. Totals on period 3 in time and mileage was 27 minutes and 29 seconds and 10.38 miles. I should have been paid $21.81 on this ride, so only a difference of 66 cents. With tip, the passenger paid $25.82 and my earnings were $27.61, so Lyft actually had a negative take on this ride. And on Uber, this was an upfront fare of $25.79. The period 3 duration was 28 minutes and 7 seconds, and the distance was 13.87 miles. Under the minimum rates, I should have been paid $26.47 on this ride, a difference of only 68 cents. The passenger actually paid $24.22, so Uber also had a negative take on this ride. I gave 36 rides this week, and there was only a handful of rides that actually came close to reflecting the new minimum rates. So again, initially these top offs are going to be substantial. Uber and Lyft have not reflected the prices in the new rates on both the passenger or the driver side. So overall, I love these new rates. So far, I'm going to see a 30% increase in earnings. I wish they could just price rides accordingly and there wouldn't have to be a top off payment, but I do get it. You can't just spike the fares overnight. Some of these passengers would have seen these fares double compared to what they would have been paying the day before. I think they're going to do a slow burn on this. They're going to slowly increase the passenger upfront fares. On the driver's side, I have no idea what they're going to do. If that's our agreement in Minnesota, is those top offs, if Uber and Lyft can sit on those top off payments for 2 weeks, I can see them doing that into perpetuity. Also, overall, I did not see a reduction in demand. I actually saw an increase of my utilization compared to my previous week. Although with passenger fares going up over time, I can see demand decreasing. Also, when drivers get those initial top off payments, I could see a lot of drivers wanting to come onto the road more often. Again, this is just my first week. Next week will be included in that 14-day period, and I should receive those top off payments the week of Monday, December 16th, and I'll share those with you guys. Many of you are probably figuring out what your strategies should be under these new rates, but I am going to do a video on my strategies, and we will post that next week, so make sure you're subscribed so you see when that posts. So I love this increase in earnings so far. I hope this expands nationwide eventually. Again, utilization will probably go down over time with passenger fares going up and more drivers coming onto the road, but with the minimum earnings guarantees, we're getting compensated so much better for our time that utilization rates going down slightly is not a big deal. But what do all of you think? Make sure to let us know in the comments. If you've yet to download the Solo app to help you manage your rideshare business and earn more, our referral link is in the description. We also have a free newsletter, and the link to sign up for that is in the description as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you see when my strategies video posts next week. Thanks again for watching, and drive safe. Thanks.